Good morning. I'm Melissa Ferris. I'm the Executive Director at Fayette County Drug and Alcohol Commission. August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day. This morning we went to remember the individuals that have died due to an overdose. Most, if not all of us here today have been impacted with someone who has had a substance use disorder. With the support and assistance from the Fayette County Commissioners and their staff and the courthouse staff, in addition to displaying purple ribbons in remembrance beginning this evening and throughout the month of September, the courthouse clock tower will also remain purple. We ask that you join us in helping to create a change in Fayette County to help reduce the number of overdose deaths. First, we need to work together to reduce the stigma surrounding addiction. Addiction is a disease and does not discriminate based on age, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. Anyone can become addicted to a substance. We need to support our friends, family, and coworkers that are in need of our help by referring them to a place that can help, like Fayette County Drug and Alcohol. As an agency, our staff have taken opportunity to distribute Narcan to as many people and organizations as possible in hopes that the medication can be used to reverse an opioid overdose. The medication does save lives. We have Narcan available here today, and we'll have a demonstration shortly. You can also stop into our office, or complete a request through our agency website to receive Narcan, and the Narcan will be over there in that tent. Finally, we ask that you dispose of any unused medication by either utilizing the take-back box locations throughout the county, or please pick up the deterra bags also at the table. I would ask now that you please join me in a moment of silence to remember all those that have passed away from an overdose. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Commissioner Dunn.
Thank you, Melissa. This is a tough subject, but one that we need to address. This has to be addressed. Everybody is impacted by this. Whether you think you're impacted by this or not, you're impacted by this. You know somebody somewhere who has fallen due to addiction. Back even before I was commissioner, we recognized in Dunbar these events have to take place. These educational opportunities where we educate ourselves as a community need to happen so that we know how to take care of our children. I was a parent when we did this one in Dunbar. I was 51 years old. I didn't know anything about any of this. So I've had to become educated so that I can raise my children in a proper way. And that's what I want to do with Fayette County. I want to make sure that everybody's educated, everybody understands. I want to really thank our staff at the Drug and Alcohol Commission, Fayette County Behavioral Health, CYS, Juvenile Probation, and many of the other organizations in the county that handle this really tough subject. You do a great job. And I also want to recognize our first responders, our police and our EMS. They are taking a real toll right now with the number of overdoses and suicides. It's really affecting them. So we need to make sure that we support them anytime that you see them out. Like Melissa said, please take advantage of the deterra bags, the drop-off locations, and the Narcan. We have to be more diligent as a community to attack this problem. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is a great crowd. Thank you so much. And let's keep working to lessen the impact of addiction in Fayette County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dunn. My name is Brian Reese. I hate podiums, so I'm going to make the cameraman crazy because I'm going to move. I am the Assistant Director at Fayette County Drug and Alcohol, and I'm extremely excited to see this many purple shirts. We are, as Melissa and Commissioner Dunn said, we have to make a difference. But I want to let you understand a couple of things about the overdoses. Since 2012, there have been 465 deaths here in Fayette County. 465 deaths. Last year, there were 76. To date, right now, the amount of overdoses is 65. So think about that, 65 people. In Pennsylvania in 2001, there were 5,224. That is one death every 105 minutes. 14 people every day die in Pennsylvania. Now, those are just statistics. In nationwide, there have been 107,622. 144 people every day die. We are gathered here on this courthouse steps. All across our country, there is a gathering just like this, some very small and some very large. We're here to honor and remember those who have died. And when you think about the deaths, you know, there's definitely more than 65 of us here right now. Think about that. Every one of those statistics is a person. It is a mother, it is a father, it is a brother, a sister, a husband, wife, son, or daughter. That's what those numbers mean. When you see those numbers, we look at numbers, but we forget about the person. And as I've been a therapist for a long time, and I've seen that death. I've talked to those parents who've lost their children. I've talked to the wives who've lost their husbands and vice versa. It is something that is real. And unfortunately, we live in a society where we hear on the news that there were 45,000 gun deaths last year. 45,000, that's a lot of people who died by a gun. But in comparison, more people die of drug overdoses than gun deaths. So when you hear that statistical thing that people are dying by guns, and that makes the news. But why does this not make the news? Why is this not as impactful? And you know, this is something we can change. We have Narcan. And as Melissa said, Narcan is over here at the tent. Narcan is the safest drug on the planet, but it's not used enough. Okay? People have a lot of fears of it. They think if I help this person and they die, that I'm going to be held responsible. That is not true. Okay? If you see someone who needs help, you want to help them. An overdose can look in many different ways, but one of the typical ways is the person is unconscious. Their eyes are rolling back in their head. They have a gurgling sound coming out because their heart is not beating enough. They do not look good. What I want you to do, if you see that person laying on the street, laying in your house, laying somewhere, is the first thing I want you to do is call 911. As Commissioner Dunn said, our first responders. Get the paramedics coming. The hardest part of Narcan is getting it out of the box. That is, honest to God, the hardest part. So you get it out, and the Narcan that we're giving has 2 4-milligram nasal sprays like this. They made it so simple that a child can do this. But again, the hardest part is getting it out. You get it out of the box, and you got to rip it open. And I can tell you from administering Narcan myself, you're going to be scared. Your heart's going to be beating 1,000 times a minute because you see this person who's not responsive. You get it out of the box and you put it between your fingers like this. And all you got to do is that. You put it up their nose and you push. This is good for a brand new baby to a 180-year-old person. Our canine police officers carry it right here on their chest for their dogs. It is the safest drug on the planet because it only has one job, and that is to get the opiates off of the receptors so the person can start to live. Now, I've been doing Narcan training for a number of years now, and I've heard a lot of people say a lot of bad things. Let them die. They deserve it. You know, as Melissa said, this is a disease. The politically correct term of addiction and substance use disorder is that it's a disease of choice. Any one of you that have had a family member die of cancer, we don't say it's a disease of choice for cancer. We don't say it's a disease of choice for diabetes, but we say that for addiction. We are here to make change. That is why you guys are here today on this courthouse steps. That is why there are courthouse steps in churches across our country to help make change. Narcan came out in 2014 for the public. You can go to a pharmacy and get it. You can come call Fayette County Drug and Alcohol. We'll give it to you. We will give it out as much as we can, because by this little simple device, you give a person another heartbeat. And that next heartbeat may be that part where they make that change. They make that change to get away from the drugs and alcohol that they were using. And that is it. There is such a stigma about those people. And I always say that those people, does everybody remember Dr. Seuss? And oh, the places you go. We probably read that book to our children. Well, Dr. Seuss was an alcoholic. And almost every one of his books has something to do with drugs and alcohol. And oh, the places you go is all about the ups and downs of recovery. But we forget about that, and we say those people. So in order to make this change, I want everybody to get Narcan. Put it in your car, put it in your desk, put it in your purse. Have Narcan, because you never know when that person's going to need it. The second thing I want you to do is, if you know somebody that needs help, there is Fayette County Drug and Alcohol, and there's a lot of other treatment providers in this county, in this state, in this country. Talk to them. Talk to them, encourage them to ask for help. Go with them. Tell them that it will be okay. Hold their hand, give them a hug, give them unconditional love. Get them to come see a professional. The other thing we have to do is we have to end this stigma. We have to stop saying those people, because those people are the husbands, the wives, the brothers, the sisters, the sons and daughters. Every one of us, as Commissioner Dunn said, knows somebody that is struggling with chemical dependency. We all do. So we have to stop pretending that it's not there. I would like everybody right now to repeat after me, and I want you to repeat it loudly. I can. And I will. Help. Okay, by the power invested in me by Fayette County Drug and Alcohol and the Department of Drug and Alcohol, I'll now deputize you. This is how we make a change. Okay? This is how. Because if we keep putting our head in the sand, people continue to die. And this is something that we can all make a change. It is one of my great pleasures now to introduce Daniel. Nope. Oh, it's a program change. I didn't know.
I'd like to introduce Mary Over from Commissioner Veciti's office. Mary has been a tremendous help in planning everything. So Mary.
Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Veciti's wasn't able to be here, or he's out of town, or he would have been here, but I just want to make a few remarks on his behalf. I'd like to thank the Fayette County Drug and Alcohol Agency, the Overdose Task Force, and all the agencies and counselors, and everyone else who's working to prevent overdoses and to reduce the stigma of drug overdose deaths. You're all making a difference, and your work's so important, and it's greatly appreciated. To everyone here who's lost a family member or a friend as a result of a drug overdose, I'm sorry for your loss, and today we're all here to mourn together those losses. And finally, if you're an overdose survivor or someone who's still struggling with recovery, just know that you're important, you're valued, and you're setting the example for change. So please never give up and never lose hope. Always remember that you have a huge support group here, right here in your community. So thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mary. I'd like to introduce Deborah Evans Rhodes from Commissioner Lohr's office, please.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. Commissioner Lohr sends his apologies. He had a major injury not long ago and had intended to be here, but doctor's appointments intervened, so he's here in spirit. To all of you who are here, once again, thank you very much. This is one of those issues that it does cut across every single line, every single boundary. You know, I always say, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. You see a family and they look perfect. You know, you think that they've got it all together. You think they've got it far more together than you do, right? But you don't know what's going on. And so I think of families that I know where they've got money, they've got children. Again, they seem to have it all together, but what you don't know is they're struggling with a family member with addiction. And it cuts to the core, and it has far-reaching implications. Whether those implications end in death or something else, but it touches everyone in that life, and those lives become so very broken. There's just not enough, words fail all of us. So it's so important that we be aware and that we know that no matter what seems to be going on the surface, there's something underneath. And again, those counselors, good heavens, the things that they're dealing with, the things that they see, they need all of our prayers. You know, that's one of the things that we can do is we can pray. There is power in that, and it's deeply felt power. So again, it's important that we learn about Narcan, that we make use of Narcan, that we become educated about Narcan, but it's also important that we step up to the plate and do what we can to support in our community. And so once again, that you all are here, you've got feet on the street, boots on the ground. Thank you so much for your compassion and your prayers and your concern. And again, from Commissioner Lohr, I'm just channeling what he would be saying to all of you if he could be here with you today. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I wore my sunglasses in case I cry, because I probably will. I'm going to start with quotes. My name is Daniel Spring. I'm a Fayette County Drug and Alcohol. Be careful what you think, because your thoughts become your words. Be careful what you say, because your words become your actions. Be careful what you do, because your actions become your habits. Be careful what you make a habit, because your habits become your character, and your character becomes your destiny. I read that because so many people are affected by this disease that thought it would never happen to them. I think there's a few gentlemen over here and ladies that know what I'm talking about. And I wanted to define stigma because it says end stigma. Stigma is a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or a person. I have a whole huge script, and I'm going to try to stick to it because I'll just ramble about things. But in the 1930s, addiction was looked at as a moral failure. Society shaped their views around this concept, deeming it a moral failure rather than a health problem, which led to an emphasis on punishment rather than treatment. The punishment approach has shaped our laws, our services, research, care, and support for the people with the disease of addiction. And it still stems into the 21st century. 3 words have deprived addicts of medical treatment, empathy, and compassion for decades, even centuries: shame, stigma, and discrimination. Shame and stigma influenced me to avoid treatment, avoid people, to hide my addiction. I'm not alone. Only 1 out of 10 people struggling with addiction seek treatment. Drug addiction turns people into thieving, conniving shells of people they will likely never return to again, the person they once were before. 1 of 4 opiate addicts receive their first pill from a doctor, friend, or a family member. And more than 100 people die daily from a drug overdose, which has nearly tripled since the 90s. 65% of incarcerated people in the U.S. have a drug or alcohol problem. And 30 million, so this is a different statistic, and I'm going to go a different direction now. 30 million children and adults have diabetes. Brian spoke about diabetes. I want to go into it in a little further detail. In 2016, $34 million were invested in research to find a cure. The mission of the American Diabetes Association is to prevent and cure diabetes and to improve the lives of all those affected. What if addiction could be viewed in our communities the same way as diabetes? What if there was an American Addiction Association with this mission? To prevent and cure addiction, to love, respect, and care for all people in our communities affected by addiction. Addiction needs to be treated like any other chronic, progressive, fatal illness or disease before real change can be made. In our country, and especially in this community of Uniontown in Fayette County, before the shame and stigma can be eliminated. This is my mission every single day. And I think many people in this audience, I thought the most challenging part of putting something together like this was going to get the message to the people that actually needed to hear it. Because the people that already know about this are standing in front of me. How do we get the message to those people that actually need to hear it? I ask you, if you aren't, to become an advocate. Bring your advocacy to the street. If you have an addiction, start talking about it. If you're struggling, start talking about it. Talking about addiction, talking about your problems can reduce the stigma and break down the barriers for people to seek treatment and recovery. We are a nation in crisis. They call it an epidemic. It's more like an apocalypse. It's killing an entire generation of people. Help us lift the shame and stigma of addiction. Bring love, support, and kindness for people with addiction and all those affected in our community suffering from this disease of addiction. I want to end with thank you for all coming to this event. We're also having a recovery walk September 24th. It's going to be at Hutchinson Park. I believe it's at Sheepskin Trail. If you want the information, it can be found on our Facebook page or our website. And it starts at 9 a.m., so I hope to see you all there. And our next speaker is Ida, and she has a powerful message to tell us.
My name's Ida Long, and I didn't know I was speaking today, so I didn't get to plan like Daniel did. But my t-shirt is different than yours. Overdose awareness because I lost a daughter 2 years ago. Hannah was on the upward trajectory. She had a year clean. It was every one of my prayers being answered, and the rug was pulled out from under me. One hit. As far as I know, one hit. I can tell you from what I've experienced in recovery processing, she strayed from the herd. She had locked elbows with people that were pulling her through. And my one message to the recovering addict or the addict still out there is, get in the herd and stay in the herd. My message is, I came here today, the prayer of my heart since probably 2 years ago. Everything changed and I have just been a survivor. I want that message to change. I want to find purpose in this pain. I want to know where the other mothers are, the other sisters, the other brothers that are hurting like I'm hurting, so that we can be a herd. Hannah was a beautiful person. Addiction changed her. On the day of April 19th, I got the phone call that I didn't think I'd ever get. She's unresponsive. She had left a radial pulse. That was it. They life-flighted her to UPMC, where she was on life support for 3 weeks with no changes. I got to go in on May the 7th to sign papers to remove life support. She passed on May 8th, Mother's Day weekend. She was a person. She had 2 daughters. The eulogy that I shared at the church in June, because of COVID, everything was delayed. I didn't get to go to the hospital. I didn't get to talk to her. I didn't get to hold her hand until I signed the papers for life support to be removed. But what I shared with her daughters was, don't ever let anybody tell you that your mother didn't love you, because your mother loved you. Addiction changed all of us. Addiction took their first day of school was yesterday. They didn't have a mother to send them off to school. Addiction took that. Addiction changes everything. And death by addiction changes everything. 2 little girls, will their lives be changed forever because of the death of their mother? Yes. And what can we do to change it? If I had anything to say that could make a difference, it would be get Narcan out. Get it out. Get it in the first aid kits. Do whatever we can to get it accessible to everyone. Get it to the elementary schools. The fentanyl that's being spread around among us today is just like the statistics that were just shared. There are deaths that are happening that are accidental deaths, and they shouldn't be happening. I have a message, and it is, help me find purpose in my pain. I don't want to hurt forever. I want to be a voice. Thanks for listening.
I guess I'm the close. Hey, you know what? Can we, if you know it, can we do the Serenity Prayer? Just take a moment of silence again for those that have passed on, that couldn't be here today, or that have survived. So let's just have a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you all for coming. Have a great day.
Again, thank you all for coming. As Ida said, if you need Narcan, it's at that table. If you need more, please contact Fayette County Drug and Alcohol. We will gladly give it to you without any questions. And if you need a lot, we'll give you a lot. So thank you again for all coming.